Welcome once again to another episode of Strange Planet, a special episode in which I continue to update you on my journey with this wonderful product you see behind me. This wonderful miracle in a bottle, the blue bottle Asea, this patented technology that enhances and supports your health at a cellular level. There's nothing else like it anywhere. And we're joined once again by Debbie Wetzler, who was with us several months ago. And maybe you saw the episode, maybe you didn't, but it's always nice to introduce you to members of the Asea family. And she's been with Asea since, I believe, 2008, like right from the beginning. Isn't that right, Debbie?
It's 2010, so
2010.
yeah, it had been around a few months by the time I got in. Yes.
And your story, how you came to get involved with Asea is very powerful. I mean, it 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 started with a prayer, really. Well, there was obviously
It did.
some harrowing events that led up to the prayer, but just kind of let's back up and tell us what happened before you sort of got down on your knees and prayed to God.
All right, I'd be happy to. So it was uh it started with my dad, I think, when he got cancer, and he was an engineer for Standard Oil, and he worked with petroleum products, and that gave him cancer. And when I saw what chemo and radiation did to him, I kind of went on a quest to look for things that would really help people at the cellular level get well instead of always using drugs are necessary. I'm not bashing them, but always using drugs or surgery because chemo is very toxic for you for every cell. And so I found some really good products and I made very good friends in one company. And they went out of integrity, and I'll make this short. So people were looking for different things at that point. In the meantime, I had stepped down. I owned my own interior design business, and I had stepped down to help a man with his children's website. And 2008 hit. And he was a great visionary, but he didn't know how to run a business very well. And he went bankrupt and never came back in to tell us he wasn't coming back in, just left. So all of a sudden, we found that we were getting absolutely no money coming in. People did not need interior designers in 2008. They needed to save their homes. And I was just hit with a huge stress. I was a single mom. I had a child still living at home. Another one had gone off to college, thank heavens. And my mother was elderly at that point. She's 88. And I just didn't want to bother her. My dad had already passed away. And so I didn't know what to do. I kept looking for jobs and I was either overqualified or there was a hiring freeze. And I finally, after 6 months and going through my life savings just to keep the roof over our head, not telling my daughter anything about this, um, I was able to get a job at a restaurant, and I was working double shifts from usually 10 in the morning till midnight or 1 or 2 every day with a 20-minute break in between, to try to make enough money, and I just wasn't making enough money. I couldn't work any more hours either. And I finally got behind in my mortgage. So now that was hitting me, and I got the letter of foreclosure, and that's when I just kind of lost it. I thought, I don't know how I'm gonna tell my daughter. She'd gone through so much with a divorce. Had been close to her dad. She found out some things about her dad that weren't wonderful for her, and so I started crying and I went upstairs and I got on my knees and I was beside my bed and just crying and saying, I just need your help. I need to find something that I can help people with and that will help me restore my financial dignity because no one knew I was broke. Um, and I got into bed and literally before I got out of bed the next morning, the phone was ringing and it was a girl from my other company. And we didn't talk that often, but we were really good friends. And she called just to say, Debbie, I found something that's a true breakthrough. It has saved three of my best friends' lives. And your name popped into my head last night. And I knew exactly why, because I had put it out there. And so she told me all about ASEA. And she actually sent me a video that told me all about Asea because we're always taught to use tools. And so I watched it 3 or 4 times, and I just thought to myself, "Oh my gosh." And I'd already looked up and thanked thanked God, basically. And, I said, if this is true, I've landed in the biggest discovery since the discovery of penicillin, it sounded like to me. So my first thought was to verify this. I trusted my friend. It wasn't that I didn't trust her. I just wanted to know more about it. And if, I'd never heard of these redox molecules. Most people haven't. And so I took it to a scientist at the National Institutes of Health. She had graduated from Johns Hopkins as a molecular biologist. And so I knew how smart she was, and she oversaw studies and research and all that kind of stuff. So I took it to her, and she immediately almost fell off her chair. And she looked and said, "Debbie, I've been studying these molecules for 17 years, and we've had scientists from around the world come and do what you're telling me. You're telling me that somebody was finally able to stabilize these molecules outside the human body in a bioactive form?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You have no idea how massive this is. This will change the medical field as you know it." And she happened to have brought home a textbook that weekend, so all the signs I needed were there for me to continue to talk about this. And she started teaching me about it, and she told me, first one to tell me they'd go through the blood-brain barrier because 'cause they're so tiny. So she said, "You'll have amazing results in the body, but you're also gonna have amazing results with all the brain stuff." I can't name them to be compliant, but anyway, you can imagine any brain issue that you might have these molecules were gonna help. And I just walked out of there thinking, "Holy cow, I found the Holy Grail," basically. And so I just started telling people 20 minutes a day, calling 3 people, telling them I didn't have much time, which was true. But I found something in the health and I loved and cared about them and I wanted them to learn about it. And I told them right up front, I don't care what you do with this information. I'm not trying to sell anything. I just want you to know about this. That's how important it is to me. And literally everybody, all my friends, of course, looked at the information. Most people got on it and are still on it. And it has changed people's lives. And if they had something, which most people do have something, um, "Oh, I'm fine, but, I take high blood pressure medicine." "Oh, okay." Then you're not fine, fine. But they've just come to live with it because they just don't realize that that's
Right.
being out of, uh, out of in disease, basically. So anyway, and it just started exploding, and within a month, I'd saved my house, and within a year of doing this 20 minutes a day, I was making 6 figures, so I was able to quit being a server in a restaurant. Not It wasn't bad, it's just not what I wanted to do the rest of my life, and, I was able to do this full time, and I've just done nothing but have a fulfilled purpose in my life. I've made it my mission. I promised our founder that I would forever talk about it, and, you know, people say, "Are you gonna retire?" I'm like, "Retire from what? This is who I am. This is what I do." I can't stand not telling somebody about this because you never know who you're gonna help.
That's right. Check out the website on the screen there, and also please text Lynn. That's her number right there on the screen. Text Lynn, and before you do anything, and please, if you're interested in trying this amazing product, ASEA, um, don't buy from Amazon. Don't buy from any third party. Order it from the website. But I urge you, before you do that, text Lynn first, and she can kind of shepherd you through how to order, or if you want to learn more about how to get involved and become a member of the ASEA family, and maybe earn a little bit of revenue on the side while you're involved in this epic mission to bring this incredible technology to the world. So again, text Lynn before you do anything, and also check out the website that's right there on the screen. Um, so before you jumped in though, did you fly off to Salt Lake City to check out, to meet the people behind this and so forth?
That's right after I it was a brand new company, and I know what happens to brand new companies most of the time. They don't know how to run them and they go bankrupt, or they don't have enough product to send out, or and before I put my very valuable at the time 20 minutes into doing something, I wanted to check that out. And luckily, the launch of the product was 2 weeks after I joined. So I did, I borrowed, I was completely broke, but this is when you want something, you find a way to get it. And so I called, I had worked with pilots, airline pilots in the other company, and I called one of my pilot friends and I said, I know you guys get buddy passes and you don't ever use them all. Yeah, you can have one. So I got a buddy pass. I flew off to Las Vegas. It was at the Paris, our launch of the product. And it was there that, yes, I met Vertus Norton, the founder, and he was an extraordinary businessman. He had been vice president of strategy for Kraft Foods when he retired the first time from a Fortune 50 company, but he'd been um, head of Hobart, and everybody loved this man. He was friends with Warren Buffett and some of the biggest names in business. And so I knew right away that we were in very good hands. He knew how to run a business at least. And he'd never done network marketing ever, though, because this is brought through network marketing. But he had found that if done in the proper way, network marketing could be very, very ethical and a very good way because people listen to other people and people give referrals all the time. It's just that you're not paid for them most of the time. And so he and his son worked together, and they said if we can teach a certain ethos of the type of people that we want to attract, then we'll do this. So that's what they do. They teach this beautiful ethos of putting P over E. So they always put principle, people, and purpose over ego and economics when they make every decision and when we're attracting people in. And it's been really funny to notice for 13 years now that the people who just get in for money never stay. It's been amazing to watch that.
Mm.
The people who really care about others are the ones who stay and do this. And so that was a beautiful part of the whole thing. But when he told the story of how this all started and how he turned down this huge check, because he was going to do this to begin with as a business flip. So he found the formula by being asked to be a financial advisor for the company before this was Asea. And they'd already done studies with the product and found this turned around three major health issues that the world suffers with um, through the FDA, and but they'd run out of money because that cost millions of dollars. And he said, "I wish you'd called me earlier. I can't help you fast enough. I can't get enough investors fast enough to be able to save you. So you're going to have to sell off some of your assets." And by the way, since he had been trying this and using it, he was 69, I think, and he started feeling like he was 30 years old. And he's like, "Okay, they have something here. I want to know what this is." So he said, if you're interested in selling off the formula, I'd be very interested in getting together some investors of my own and purchasing it. And that's what happened basically. And so he was able to work with an atomic medical physicist, and he was able to stabilize it. And he luckily got this on 40 of his friends, family, and church members. And they all had major health issues. That's why he handpicked them, and 6 had been in hospice, so they only were given weeks left to live. And he just gave them the product after it had been stabilized, and he said, "Drink as much as you want. There's a perceived health benefit." That's all he told them. All 40 of them turned around so completely in 2.5 months that they then shipped it to people they loved, 135 more people in 20 countries. So he had what he needed, and that's when he called the pharmaceutical companies that he'd been talking to in. He called in one particular one first. And this was a very good lesson for him because, he showed them all the studies, he showed them everything, and he told them about the 40 people. And they looked at him and said, "Yeah, we want this. We'll give you a check so large you don't talk to anyone else. And if you do, everybody comes off the product today and we shut you down." And I think at first he was very shocked. And then he did say, "That's kind of harsh. Some of these people are only alive because they're on the product." And they literally said, "We lose people all the time. That's the cost of doing business. Let them go,"
Mm.
which is very sad to hear. However, if people are well, they don't take drugs, and that's their main goal, sell drugs. So that it made sense, and he instantly, being brilliant, realized what was going to happen. So he luckily turned down the check and said, "I can't take your check." He went home, and that's when they decided he looked into he's so brilliant, he looked into every different form of getting this out. And he knew that if he put it on shelves, like at Costco
Mm.
or one of the, healthy food stores or something, people would look at this and it looks like a bottle of salt water. And they'd go, "Why are we paying for salt water?" So he knew he needed information to go out, but again, he couldn't make a lot of medical claims or anything due to what just happened. So that's when this friend stepped in and said, "You have the most amazing product to get out through word of mouth and personal relationships with people." And so that's what he chose because he knew that people like you and me need to educate people about what it is and why they need it because otherwise people don't even know. And to tell them that it's not salt water anymore. It's gone through this highly patented. There's 23 patents and 200 trade secrets on this. So it's like the Coke formula. People will never know how we make it. Um, and so it's gone through a process and it's not salt water, it's actually redox molecules now.
Right. The redox, these signaling molecules that our body produces, lots and lots of them when we're young, and less of them as we get older. And these are the molecules in the cells, every cell of our body that basically call 911 when there's an injury or a disease and they need help. And then those, as I say, those that signal, that 911 call gets weaker and weaker and weaker as we get older. So this is so remarkable that they were able to reproduce these redox signaling molecules outside of the body, but have them stabilized. That had never been done before
Hmm.
until now. And so that's why this is so revolutionary. This is, Dr. Silverman has talked about this on the program, how this is like, it's almost like penicillin in terms of its
Yep, it does a
potential
lot
impact.
more.
Yeah, its
Right.
potential impact. So,
Oh, and it does so much more than penicillin.
yes.
Penicillin kills germs. This does so much more than that. And this even is anti, this is not, we're not supposed to release that as either, but it's antiseptic. They were using it to clean dental tools to begin with because it's antiviral, fungal, microbial, and bacterial.
Right.
And that's because that's what it's supposed to do in your body, take care of bad stuff that's trying to attack and get rid of it. And so that made sense to me. And I know I know that I don't know if I said this last time or not, but I know Scott, our manager at the production facility, the FDA comes in. We are FDA registered and we are a good manufacturing process stamped and a GSF also. But anyway, so they came in, the FDA came in and they finally said, "All right, what do you make here?" And he said, "Why do you ask?" And they said, "We have never seen a facility so clean and so spotless with absolutely no bacteria anywhere. Anywhere. You could eat off the floor here." And he started laughing and he goes, "Oh, well, we make Asea. It's completely antiseptic." And they looked and they went, "Well, you have to use our FDA cleaning materials if you want to be FDA registered." He goes, "Oh, we always use your cleaning materials. We just always rinse with Asea."
That's a great story.
And they just said, "Whatever you're doing, continue because you're spotless and you're always, up to date with your records and everything. You're an amazing company, basically."
That's quite an endorsement. Uh,
Yes.
Again, check out the website on the screen there. But before you do that, even um, text Lynn. Lynn is my mentor. She brought me on board. She's so passionate, so knowledgeable. All she wants to do is, and so selfless. All she wants to do is help people. You're not bothering her. You're don't think that for a minute. She would love to get in contact with you and help you out, introduce you to. She can also direct you to some other videos if you want to get deeper into the science, or you could go back and find my conversations with Dr. David Silverman, who is on the medical advisory board at Asea. He'll tell you a little bit more about the science. Or if you want to learn about the network marketing possibilities and how maybe you can generate a little income while you're making a difference. I mean, how there's so many different network marketing opportunities out there, but I mean, you can sell shoes if you want, I suppose, in network marketing, but this really is a game changer, and you're going to change people's lives. So why not make a little bit of money and help people at the same time? That's
And
that's
if I may endorse what Richard's saying, Lynn is one of the most beautiful people you will ever talk to and or meet. She doesn't need to do this at all. She does it just to help people. So she would be very happy. She's one of my best friends. And we became best friends years ago when we first met. And I'm actually going to go see her this at the end of this month, I think.
ah.
Anyway, so please feel free to call. She is a wealth of knowledge at this point and would be happy to help.
And I
And
mentioned
if anyone wants to talk to me for some reason, I've been in this for 13 years. She has my contact info also. I'm happy to help you also.
oh, fantastic. Yeah, one big
Absolutely.
happy family. Everyone's helping
We
each
are,
other.
yes.
And I mentioned Dr. David Silverman. You introduced this product to Dr. David Silverman. Tell me how
I
that
did.
went down. How did that go down?
Well, we were both part of that other company, and it was a health company, basically. Uh, and he was in my sponsorship above me. And we'd become very, very good friends also. He was like a young brother to me, but I knew his heart. And when he realized that some of the things that we were using could help his patients even more than what he was doing with drugs and surgery, he quit being a doctor. He's kept board certified and everything, but and a surgeon, and went full on with network marketing because it could help so many people. So of course, when I learned about this, when I'd gone to the launch, I was flying back saying, "How am I going to tell David about this?" Since we were both in this other company, and I knew he wouldn't be very happy, but I had to tell him because I loved him as a friend, and I knew his heart. And if he realized what this was, he was going to be able to help people also. I wasn't thinking he might share this except with people he loved, immediate people, maybe, if he even accepted it. So, all these things run through your head. So I made an appointment. We met at a restaurant, and I just said, "David, you know how much I love you?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "I've just learned about something that you've got to hear about." And he's like, "Okay, what is it?" And I start telling him, and he's pretty amazed. And I don't think he knew much about Redox either, because they just missed it when he went to school as waste material, as waste during the Krebs cycle, produced it during then. And so he luckily looked into it because his dad had a severe health challenge at the time, and he got it immediately because he trusted me on his dad, and his dad turned around completely. It was amazing what happened, but he still didn't give it so much credit because he was using a lot of things. It wasn't until he introduced it to actually another doctor friend of his who had been on one of the teams to help stabilize it, and he was having issues trying to play golf with his joints. They were very painful. So he sends it to him, and he he immediately can play golf. His joint discomfort is away, but he thought it was a placebo. These are all doctors, so like whatever. But he calls him in about another month, and he goes, "It's not a placebo." And David said, "Well, how do you know that?" And he's talking to both of us. And he goes, "Well, I was standing in front of the mirror today after I got out of my shower." And David's like, "Too much information." David. And he goes, "No, no, listen." He said, "For years, I've been so embarrassed. I've had this gaggle of skin tags under my armpits. They were disgusting and I hated them." He said, "They're all gone. It's not a placebo. They're all gone. This is the only thing I've changed." So at that point, David realized, and this other doctor realized, that that it's real, that it works, and they started getting it on lots of people and seeing so many things. And then so David became so passionate, he quit the other company and came full time to Asea, which is great. I love working with him. Um, we still meet quite a bit, even though he's moved to Florida at this point for most of the time, and I've moved here, but we're still very, very good friends. And he has a heart of gold and loves to help people. So,
And like you, a real ambassador for ASEA. The last time I spoke with him, I think he had just come home from Asia on a
yep,
grueling tour. Uh,
yes,
he just was everywhere and telling me all these amazing stories of the people he met, and there was this billionaire I'm not sure if it
yep,
was Taiwan,
Philip,
The
Philippines.
Philippines, yeah. And it was supposed to be like, I don't know, like a 15-minute meeting. And after the meeting, the billionaire pulled him aside, and said, "You're coming with me," and he put him on his private plane, and
Right,
just converting people wherever he goes. And you're
absolutely.
an ambassador. You're a double diamond ambassador. What does a double diamond mean?
I'm actually an ambassador diamond, and that just means that I've spoken to a lot of people, and that it's to get there. You're required to have certain personal group volume to get there, and from so many different people underneath you and stuff like that. It's very complicated to get there, but and it takes a lot, but it takes just a lot of people knowing about this and sharing it. And that's, that's what we do, and that's what happens if you continue to do it. And it's so funny that you're bringing that up. Right after he went to all those I went to the Philippines for the official launch, and went, I don't know how many to how many events, and flew all over the Philippines, and there was 500 to 600 people at every event,
Wow.
and they were so excited. I've got 3 teams over there, and they were so excited, and we had about 400 signups by the time I had left, and it was an amazing tour, and it was grueling. We were either traveling or doing presentations all the time, but it paid off. I mean, it's helped so many people. It's just amazing, the stories. This one poor woman, if you have 2 more seconds,
Yes.
this one poor woman was brought into the hotel, and she had been in pain with her back since she was 17 years old. She was 65. So whatever that, 40, 50 years. And she'd had back surgery, and she had this big long scar, and she could barely move. She had to really sit down very slowly. She was in pain so much that she actually started crying just a little bit.
Mm.
And so I just took the gel. We have a gel form of redox molecules, and I just kept rubbing it on her back. And we went around, and it helped everybody else immediately. There's some other people there and stuff. So we finally turned to her, and she goes, "Just a minute." And she stood up very, very slowly, but all of a sudden she straightened her back, burst into tears, and was telling her husband in Philippine language that this was the first time she'd been with no pain at all in, what, 50 years. So we all burst into tears. It was just, and she just kept hugging me and squeezing me and saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And her husband came over and did the same thing. And they were just, it's just overwhelming to see stuff like that, to change somebody's life so quickly sometimes. Sometimes it takes a while, but this was very, very fast. And so, of course, they got the products. She's using them. She's doing very, very well from what I hear. So I, I don't know. How could you be paid any better than that?
It's true. It's what an honor to be part of an epic mission, and that's what this is. People looking for meaning in their life. This is it. This
Yes,
is your chance
this is it.
to get involved in an epic mission, and this is revolutionary. You said, going to the Philippines, 500, 600 people there. This thing is starting to. It's sweeping the planet. So here's your opportunity to become a part of something bigger than yourself. So many different ways to be rewarded. Yes, financially, but also just emotionally and spiritually, to help other people, to help your friends, to help your family. And again, visit the website on the screen. But before you do anything, text Lynn, and she'd love to hear from you. And it's great hearing from you again, Debbie. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, Richard, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
A new Richard Syrett's Strange Planet drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe at strangeplanetpodcast.com.